Baltimore is going to Baltimore in the NFL draft. One of the smartest teams in football. Did such a great job of acquiring all these picks and getting some really talented players. A lot of the headliners I've talked about already. Travis Jones, though, one that kind of flew under the radar a little bit, but I personally was really high on. I had him as a top 50 prospect personally. I believe I had him as a first-round talent, in fact. And so for him falling as far as he did was surprising to me. I kind of get it. Again, it's kind of one of those situations where how many teams need a run stuffing interior defensive lineman, and so some teams are just not even going to bother with a guy like that because they don't need him, which to that logic I can understand a little bit. And that's, kind of what the Ravens had done a little bit was said, hey, let's take those guys that play in positions that the NFL as a whole isn't necessarily desperately going after. Getting the number one safety on the consensus big board, getting the number one center on the consensus big board. And those were two guys that I think those were kind of the only two guys that were, by 95% of people considered the number one guy. And now Travis Jones, who isn't the number one guy by any means, but in a position where not every team is going after, and he's really good. He's going to help the Ravens out a lot, I think. Let's get into the film and talk about why I feel that way. So let's start off with a play like this. So you see where he is on the field. This would be a good, just quick play of showing what he can do. Is he really uses his hands very well. And it's going to be a little bit difficult to tell. Sorry, I don't have too much all-22 for Travis Jones. Unfortunately, got to deal with the broadcast footage, but watch what he does. Watch him really just shove this, guard out of the way and still gets over to be able to clear up that running lane that he was in front of. So again, it's using his hands at the line. Obviously, what everyone notices about him is going to be his size, of course, 6'4", 325 pounds, but it's his hands that allow him to be successful. Hands are how you win, especially at the NFL level. You can kind of get away with it at college sometimes, but if you don't have hands at the NFL level, you're going to struggle. Travis Jones certainly has hands, for sure. Going over to something like this is another example of, again, using that size, right? So, okay, great. He has a technique down. That's cool. How does his size come into play? Well, you'll see on an example like this. Watch what happens. Right when this play begins, watch him just drive the Clemson player who was going up against back, and this is moving the line of scrimmage backwards, right? It's just making it easier for everyone else. So you push someone back, which now means that for anyone else trying to make a tackle, you just have a little bit more room to operate. Now, this still does end up being a first down, but again, that's not what we're evaluating here. Did he do his job? I would say, yes, he did his job. Actually, still ended up helping make that tackle before it was all said and done, but really what he did on that play was just, his ability to I thought, do a good job of, pushing him back, driving back the player who was going up against. I think something like this will really show kind of what he can do. He's one of the more complete interior defensive linemen in the draft. I don't think he's the best run defender in this draft, but he does a really good job of pass rushing, especially in pure pass situations. Like his advanced numbers in pure pass sets are as good as anyone's that got drafted in terms of the pass rushing game. And this will be an example of it. What's going to happen on this play is you see where he is on the screen. I have circled him, and watch what's going to happen. Right when this play begins, you do see how he goes, initially to the center's right, so to Jones's left, towards the bottom of the screen. And so he's able to, be in position where he can now try a move. It's his left hand that's going to grab onto the right side of that Clemson center, and then watch what he does. Just pulls him off, gets his left hand over, and is able to get a pressure right there. These are things that work at the NFL level. You gotta have hands, and everyone thinks, well, you can teach that stuff. Well, you don't have to teach it with Travis Jones. He knows it, and you can't always teach it with everyone. Some guys have this stuff and some guys don't. Just because it's technique doesn't mean it's something literally anyone can learn. No, there's a reason why some guys do it better than other guys. Obviously, the other stuff matters, but he has the other stuff too. In the running game, something like this, a very key aspect to his game, where what's going to happen is he is going to be going up one-on-one against a center, and watch what happens. Look, as you see, he does get in position. It's going to be a running play, so kind of a weird play by the center as a whole. But anyways, he's in a spot where he can get off this block now if he wants to make a tackle. The halfback is going to be running, towards the top of the screen in the gap there. And for Travis Jones, he is getting blocked one-on-one, but he is someone who's nimble enough that you can't really get away with doing this. Watch him get off that block, and he is able to go over and help make that tackle. So again, he is someone who can, he can move a little bit, right? It's not just a power guy. It's not like he isn't someone who can actually make the tackles and only drives guys backwards. No, he can do everything you need him to do. Finally, something like this is, again, these are kind of the fun things that he can do, and this is the one thing I think, I feel very confident the Ravens are getting with a Travis Jones. He's going up one-on-one against the center, and watch what happens. Look, as you see, he just drives him backwards to allow for the pocket to collapse a little bit. Quarterback had enough time to make the throw. Sure, fine, whatever. But that's a win, in my opinion, with Travis Jones. He's someone who does win in those situations and does his job, especially in the passing game. I mean, I say especially in the passing game. That's probably not true, actually. It's really especially in the running game, but it's both. He's someone who can definitely do both and be a quality player at both of those positions. And again, it's always a little tricky with those big interior defensive linemen simply because, in college football, obviously you're going up against smaller guys, so your wins are going to look more impressive. So that's kind of why I think actually it gets a little bit dangerous when you just watch film. Everyone loves to say, gotta watch the tape, gotta watch the tape. And you do. That's a really important aspect of evaluating a player, is when you watch film of someone, you can start to, just notice who they are and just understand context about everything as well. But for a position like an interior defensive lineman, it can also really help to look at statistics to see, okay, how often are they winning? Are they winning consistently, or are they not winning consistently? Which you can also do watching tape, of course, but that's what those statistics are, right? It's someone watching tape and then saying, yes, win or loss, and then, it's just an easier way to keep track of that. So using those kind of statistics can really help you in learning, okay, this guy, yes, he had impressive wins, but he also won a lot, and that makes you feel better about him. And also, in obvious situations, he performed better. When he knew what play was coming, he did even better, which in the NFL, I feel like there's less trickery, right? College is all faking. It's all RPOs. It's all trying to, convince someone that something else is happening. Whereas the NFL, there's obviously that, football is a game of deception at the end of the day, so obviously that is going to be a role no matter what level you're playing in, but it's less of one at the NFL level. There's a lot more, okay, we know this guy is going to be passing here, let's go get him, whereas in college, not so much. So I think that'll benefit him and could make him even a better player at the NFL level. And again, the Ravens certainly have plenty of picks to take some chances, because the Ravens just did such a smart job of getting as many, of these picks, which I felt like, I kept saying this top 100 is a really underrated top 100. The top 100 in this draft is fantastic, and they got a lot of top 100 players in this draft, which is kind of what makes it so impressive. So that's what I think about Travis Jones. That's what I think about what he brings to the Baltimore Ravens. What do you guys think? Let me know in the comments below. What are your thoughts on Travis Jones to the Ravens? Always love hearing from you. And of course, as always, thanks for watching.